We shall, Eli. Hello, folks. It's Super Bowl weekend. I'm here with Eli. It's February 8th, 2025, and thanks for joining us. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about, not just the NFL. And Eli's going to lead us off, of course, with the monologue this week, sponsored by Coriano Trucking. And Eli, I'm going to give you the spotlight for the monologue. Take it away, my friend.
All right, but first off, everyone, happy Super Bowl weekend. Welcome to Sports with Mono Mono. Feel free to comment anytime or send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com. Before we get to the football, and I know Jim's ready to do quarterback. He's got the Patriots Tom Brady jersey on, of course, uh, which I think
Well,
it will give us an
that's
explanation.
just that's an homage to
The Super
Tom
Bowl.
Brady and his 8 Super Bowls, and so
Will it be broken? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to talk and focus on the monologue on the NBA because since our show ended on last Saturday, after our first show of February, at the middle of the night, Luka Doncic gets traded by the Mavericks to the Lakers, along with
mhm.
Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. And in return, the Mavericks got Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 Lakers first round pick, while the Jazz get Jalen Hood Schneifel, Clippers second round pick, and Mavericks second round pick, and both in 2025. This was a wild trade. And I
Certainly
think it was the most shocking thing I've ever seen in all sports because right now the Mavericks were unstoppable. Looking at their standings, they had eighth place right now in the league. They had a decent record, and I think he was a big part of it. And to send them to the Lakers of all teams was just shocking to see. I did not expect that to happen. And Luka just bought a house for $50 million the other day in Dallas, and now he's got to move to Los Angeles, which is very shocking. And since the trade happened, Mavericks only won one of the three games since the trade happened. And that one game happened on Thursday. But the trade line continued to get even bigger and crazier. Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat gets traded to the Golden State Warriors for 2 years to $121 million. The Heat sent Butler to Golden State for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, and Kyle Anderson, and a protected first round pick. I am disappointed about that trade as well. I mean, I think that not Kyle Anderson. I think that the fact that Butler really deserved to not. I mean, the Warriors don't deserve Butler. Bottom line. And I think and I saw Coach Kerr was not happy about it. He had his head down, leaving the locker room. You could see disappointment. And will this affect any of the guys? Maybe an early retirement? Could this lead them to getting trades after the season? That is a big question. I think the Warriors of all teams was definitely a shocker there. I don't like it for the Warriors, and I think that was a bad trade right there. For the Luka Doncic trade, it's something with management. I feel for all Dallas fans, and I feel for Luka himself because that was not what he expected to happen there. And I want to hear your thoughts, Jim.
Okay. Well, listen. First and foremost, yes, this was a massive trade, right? You're talking about two All NBA guys, and you look at Davis and you look at Luka, right? And but apparently he's worn out his welcome either with ownership in Dallas because he's never in shape, but he is still one of the best scorers in the league. And Anthony Davis. So here's my take on this whole thing. And there's a couple other trades we'll get to, but
Right.
this one, and if anybody, see, everybody says that nobody knew about this trade. Baloney. If you think LeBron James didn't sign off on this trade, then you are either naive or just plain out of touch because he owns general managers, coaches, and stars for the Lakers. So,
Absolutely.
and
And
the fact that Anthony Davis, who he went out of his way to pull from New Orleans, right, 4 or 5 years ago, and they're apparently best friends. Um, they had to sign. He had to sign off on it. This didn't happen just by one general manager calling the other general manager and said, let's trade two of the best players in the NBA. I will
Absolutely.
never believe that for one single second. Now,
Absolutely.
part of this could be because listen, LeBron James is 40 years old. He's still obviously a top 5 player, but his time is, 40 is tough in the NBA. And, um, this could be because he's so entrenched with the Lakers that, he's going to pass the baton to Luka Doncic. Now, listen, yes, the Mavericks were a great team. They got to the finals last year and lost. And but Doncic has either off the field issues or something. And this is a big deal because he was already, and yeah, you say he bought a $15 million house. That's great. But he was in line for a max deal, like $500 million. So, maybe they didn't feel like paying a guy that misses a lot of time. And Anthony Davis misses a lot of time as well. But there's no way anyone could tell me that this wasn't orchestrated and
Absolutely.
with LeBron James before it happened.
I had to agree with that one, with LeBron James having a factor. The reason why, we saw an Instagram photo from Luka Doncic showing his missed calls, and his name of the manager was Nico. And you saw maybe 10 missed calls from Nico, but then the word Big 23 came up, and number 23 is LeBron James. That was an answered call. That's kind of shocking to see that, Big 23, LeBron James. That answer was picked up, but Nico, the general manager, wasn't. So absolutely, I have to admit that had a factor into it. But that to say that all went down was pretty insane. And I feel for all Mavericks fans. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, it certainly was a big trade. And let's just cover also. There was a couple other
Butler. What about Butler? What did you think about that one?
Well, listen, we talked a little bit about Jimmy Butler. He's become a problem, which he wasn't for the past couple of seasons, but recently he has been a problem. Doesn't get along with Pat Riley, and he was, so he was suspended. And you know what? If I was, my feelings on guys that don't want to play or demand trades, that doesn't mean that the team has to do it, but they did it. They didn't get a lot in return, and he goes to Golden State. But look, Golden State's a 500 team right now. Jimmy Butler is not going to put them over the top. So they are not going to win the NBA championship with Jimmy Butler. And the Lakers are not going to win the NBA championship because they got Luka Doncic. I think one of the trades that stood out to me was De'Aaron Fox getting traded from the Sacramento Kings to play with Victor Wembanyama, who, as I mentioned last week, is one of the best up-and-coming players in the game. So that's a big, big trade. Fox is still young, and what a great trade to work around that centerpiece with Victor Wembanyama. So look for this to highly improve the San Antonio Spurs, not just this year. They're not ready to win the championship this year, but coming down the road, this was a big, big move for them. Even bigger than Luka, I think.
Absolutely. And I think the other big trades that happened too, the Mavericks sent Quentin Grimes to Philadelphia in exchange for some draft picks and Caleb Martin. They send those picks back to them, which was an interesting move there. Pelicans traded Brandon Ingram to the Raptors for Bruce Brown Jr., Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick. Lakers traded Dalton Gannett for Cam Reddish and a 2031 first-round draft pick to the Hornets. Detroit is picking up Dennis Schroeder from the Jazz. Clippers trade Dennis Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks. A lot of trades happened. And speaking of Schroeder, he was traded to 3 different teams within 24 hours with the deadline. He went from the Warriors to the Heat to the Jazz to the Pistons. Talk about having one buyout within 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think didn't the Lakers actually get Mark Williams from Charlotte as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the fill-in for Anthony Davis because every team needs a big man in the middle. But yeah, they gave up Dalton Connect, who was their number 1 pick and so forth. So, the NBA was trying, I guess, the trade deadline comes
shocked everybody.
Yeah, but it comes during Super Bowl week, and there's a competition between the NBA and the NFL with the Christmas Day schedule and so forth. So,
Well, they certainly got it last week with no games happening. They certainly
yeah,
delivered with that move.
yeah.
And we do have a couple comments I want to get to real quick. Guy Coriano says, "Good morning, boys. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Guy."
guy.
Diego says, "Hello, hello, Diego." And Andrew says, "Good morning, guys. I'm still 2 months away from caring about the NBA."
And to your point, thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Diego. Thank you, Anthony,
Andrew
Andrew.
and Guy.
And you're right. I'm not in on the NBA. I didn't necessarily know we were going to start with the NBA, but there was a lot of things happening. But yeah, and again, the whole Doncic thing really made front page news, and it still has. So
Oh, absolutely has.
yeah.
All right.
All right, Eli, let's get right into the sport of the weekend, and that is the
Football.
National Football League. And we're going for history here, right? We're going for Patrick Mahomes, first team to hopefully three-peat. Hasn't never been done before. I'm wearing my Tom Brady jersey in homage to his Super Bowl record, which is right now unmatched. But remember, Patrick Mahomes is still not even 30 years old yet. And if he pulls this one off, then he's primed for a couple more, because Andy Reid's not going anywhere. And what drives me crazy is that the Giants, after he got fired from Philadelphia, I said, why aren't they hiring Andy Reid? And he ends up going to Kansas City, and he was a great coach in Philly, and he's a great coach, one of the greatest, maybe, of all time now. We're talking him in the same breath as the Belichicks and the Shulas and so forth. So, yeah,
All I
we
gotta
got a
say
big
is,
game.
watch out, Tom Brady, because whether or not he wins the Super Bowl or not tomorrow, he is going to go after those 8 Super Bowls that Brady has and has a great chance of beating it.
He does.
And we
He's
have a
still
comment
young.
from Frankie. He says, "Eli, not a Hall of Famer, is an absolute joke. The Hall of Fame has lost its meaning. I could even tell you who Eric Allen and Jared Allen are."
Okay. Thank you,
I agree.
Frankie. Thank you, Frankie, for the comment. And listen, my feelings. I'm a Giant fan like you are. But you know what? I'm not as disappointed that he didn't get in on the first ballot. Yes, a two-time Super Bowl winner. He will get into the Hall of Fame. But if you look at the whole body of work, he's 117 wins and 117 losses. And yes, he had two great runs, but there was also times where he didn't play like a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I know this may be shocking, but
I am shocked.
he will get in. But the first ballot, and yeah, there's a couple other things. Let's get right into who did get in. And to Frankie's point, Eric Allen, I don't think so.
That should have been Eli. And I 100% agree with Frankie. 100% on this.
Okay.
I think Eli Manning is an absolute Hall of Famer. He won 2 incredible Super Bowls. He led the Giants to incredible moments. He was the king of New York. And I cannot name another quarterback that is better in New York than Eli Manning. The fact he's not in there is devastating.
All right. Well, I just didn't think it was a first ballot, but to Frankie's
And he's a
point,
3-time NFC Pro Bowl head coach winner.
Okay. I don't think that goes into the criteria of Hall of Fame selection.
You never know.
But I do want to talk about the Hall of Fame because, I'm very, very stringent on this. And we talked about it. I talked about it with Frankie at one point too. The fact that Antonio Gates didn't get in on the first ballot was stunning to me.
Yeah.
So that's some justification for him. And to his point, Eric Allen, yeah, he was a very serviceable defensive back, played for several teams, Eagles, Saints, I think. Hall of Fame, I'd say no. When I think of Hall of Fame, I think of Ronnie Lott and I think of Rod Woodson and those types, and I don't put Eric Allen in that category.
But I mean, Jack made a point yesterday on the 12th Show podcast, our other show I do. He mentioned if they were able to put Troy Aikman in there, why ain't Eli Manning in there?
Oh, come on. We're comparing an apple and an orange here with
I think
Troy
that
Aikman as a Hall of Famer.
personally, Eli
All
Manning
right.
should have been in there.
All right. But listen, also, so to Frankie's point, Jared Allen, yes, for a 4 or 5 year period of time for the Vikings um, and the Chiefs, I think also, and I looked at some of the numbers, and Jared Allen is up on a very elite list. Like he had like the fourth most consecutive seasons of 10 sacks, and I always thought he was an outstanding player. But him getting in the Hall of Fame, if it took Joe Klecko 20 years to get in the Hall of Fame, then Jared Allen should have had to wait as well.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing. And then the final guy that got in, and this is very interesting because now it's the first brother combination, the Sharp brothers, Shannon and Sterling.
Yes.
And if you look at Sterling, Sharp's record when he was with the Green Bay Packers, he was one of the best wide receivers, but he had a neck injury that cut his career short. So the only one I could think of that had kind of that same short career that got in the Hall of Fame, and of course, obviously, that was a slam dunk, is Gale Sayers. But I have a special place in my heart for Sterling Sharp because when this goes way back. The only year I did fantasy football, I was co-general manager with my brother, and Sterling Sharp was our guy, and he killed it and led us to the Lombardi Trophy of fantasy football. So, yeah, he was great, but you can question that his career wasn't as long as normally you would suspect. But listen, relax. Eli Manning will get in the Hall of Fame, but I can't actually say I'm surprised by it. I'm just not.
I am.
So,
1000%.
okay. All
All
right.
right.
Let's talk
to the
about.
awards.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, Josh Allen won the MVP, and I think it's well deserved. And I know there were some debates about maybe Lamar Jackson should have got it, maybe Joe Burrow. I think to me, in my book, it personally came down to Saquon Barkley and Josh Allen. And I think Josh Allen well deserved the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. And I think there's no question about that. Those two.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't have had a problem with either one of those three guys, Barkley, Allen, and Jackson, winning it. And when you look at it, I mean, Lamar Jackson's numbers were outstanding.
Phenomenal.
I mean, they really were. But so was Josh Allen. And Lamar Jackson had Derrick Henry to, spread the wealth around about who's the key focus. And if you stop Derrick Henry, then Allen. But, Josh Allen didn't have, they got James Wood, very good running back. And as you know, I picked them. I thought this was the year, but I don't have a problem with it. I would have been happy either way. And honestly, Saquon Barkley had just as much claim to being the MVP in that league in this league as the other two guys. So
yeah. And Patrick Surtain II gets Defensive Player of the Year. Jaden Daniels, well deserved, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. There's no question asked about that.
There was no other contenders, to be quite
absolutely
honest.
No question. I know there were some takes about Brock Bowers. No, it is Jaden Daniels or nothing, and I think that was the absolute correct pick. Jaden Verse gets Defensive Rookie of the Year
for the Rams.
For the Rams, that is right. And Joe Burrow gets Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers that Joe Burrow, he led the league in yards, he led the league in touchdown passes, he was third in quarterback rating, but he did get Comeback Player of the Year after being injured last year. So.
Yes.
And one other note.
Had Kevin O'Connell, he got the Coach of the Year. Ben Johnson, Assistant Coach of the Year, and Walter Payton of the Year is Eric Armstead. Those are the final awards.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big award in the National Football League, the Walter Payton Award, because that shows what kind of character a guy is off the field as well. And
I agree. And I think personally, in my opinion, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, but there were many worthy candidates of it. So, him winning that, Eric Armstead, you can imagine what he does off the field for sick kids or the community and so forth. So that's a big award too.
Yes.
Goes unnoticed, to be honest.
Well, congratulations on that, and I have no complaint about that part. My only take with this whole Walter Payton Award is you have 32 nominees from every single team. Why isn't there an award for every single one? It should be like the Hall of Fame where there's a list of people and you all get an award, you all say a speech, and you all share something. Because it shouldn't just be that one guy who did everything and that's who gets the credit. Because in reality, it's a team effort helping everybody in their community, helping everybody in their schools, helping charities out. That's what really the award should be, giving it to multiple people and not just one. I understand with what Payton did, but everybody should be involved.
But these guys, they do it because that's the kind of character they are. And I don't know. It's hard to judge who does more or who does less, but it is a big award. There's
absolutely no question. Other news happened. The NFL is going to Ireland next year and Australia in 2026. The Steelers will be the home team for the Ireland game. I don't like these international games. I think this is getting out of hand. I mean, yes, I was for it at one point for sending everybody there, but the fact they're just getting more and more people, more and more teams you're sending to internationally. We started from Mexico, then we end up in London, we end up in Germany. Now we're in Australia, we're in Ireland, we're all over the country at this point.
Brazil also.
Brazil, yeah. Thank you. Brazil as well. I get it. We're trying to expand to other countries and stuff, but for us, the consumer, that means either earlier start times, like the London games, 9:30 in the morning on the East Coast time, or late starts, as in the Brazil game. It was 8 o'clock at night on a Friday. Really? Like, this is out of hand. And now, not just that, what about the people on the West Coast? The West Coast have to now suffer more. West Coast, if this is a London game, 9:30 is the start time, they're watching it at 6:30 in the morning if they're up to watch football.
Well, listen,
if you're on the very little Friday night game, it's 5 o'clock. You're still working, and you got to somehow still watch the football game.
Yeah, I know. I have very
for the East Coast people, but you got to feel for the West Coast. Don't forget they're part of it too.
I have little sympathy for the West Coast guys because they get a 9 o'clock game every day, and the second game is at 12, and we got to stay up until 8 o'clock and so forth. So
I get it, but at the same time too, is after 8 o'clock, they're done. They have nothing to do for the rest of their night. They got to watch late night television.
Yeah, well, they can go surfing and do whatever they do in California. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's them. Lucky them. We got to all work here in the East Coast. I mean, I don't know about.
All right. So one other quick note I wanted to bring up before we talk about the big game. One of the best players in the league, Myles Garrett. Now he's demanding a trade. He wants to be traded. And listen, he has been the best, one of the best. Before Aaron Donald retired, you could have made a case for either one of them.
Absolutely.
And he wants out of Cleveland because Cleveland is an absolute train wreck. And but however, again, these guys are under contract, and they're going to force these guys to make a trade. If I'm the owners, they continuously buckle in like the Heat did with Butler, and they do this all the time, and it drives me crazy. What is a contract supposed to mean? That means you're employed by that team until that contract is over. So I don't know where he's going to end up. A lot of speculation. He could go to the Raiders, and they would have Crosby on one end and Garrett on the other. But, if he's looking and his immediate need is to get to a Super Bowl, it's not going to be with the Las Vegas Raiders. So I hope he rethinks where he's going to go. And but you can rest assured the Cleveland Browns will trade Myles Garrett because that's the way they handle it. Period.
Fair enough.
Right.
And the other ones that wanted Rams, they're planning to trade Cooper Kupp. I'm shocked about that. I did not expect Cooper Kupp to get traded. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's a Ram for life. The fact that they want to trade him was shocking to me.
Yeah, I think gets hurt a lot. He's hurt a lot.
Yeah. What else we had? Micah Hyde announced his retirement from the NFL. Bears head coach Ben Johnson signs a 5-year, $65 million deal. Packers kicker Mason Crosby announced his retirement from the NFL after 17 years. And Raiders hired Chip Kelly as their new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, here's an interesting thing when you brought up Crosby, because also in the Hall of Fame, and kickers now get in. Aaron Vinatieri did not get in, and he's one of the
Top
highest,
kickers.
one of the greatest kickers of all time, and he didn't get in. So he'll get in eventually, probably next year, if nothing else, or the year after. But I know kickers aren't, considered, a primary player on an organization, but he will be a Hall of Famer at some point.
They play a crucial part though in getting points and wins.
Yeah.
I think they're Hall of Famers in my book.
All right, Eli. So
Let's
a lot
talk
of
about it.
speculation. We got the 2 weeks out of it. We're all tired of the preparation and the commentary from all of these pundits and all this kind of
Let's
stuff.
get to the
So
game.
now, what's that?
So let's get to the game. Let's make it happen.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong. It's normally a 6:30 kickoff tomorrow.
It is still 6:30. Yep.
Okay.
And it's going to be on Fox.
Right, which is Tom Brady of all people calling the Super Bowl 1 year after his retirement. It's the he's all over the place. And by the way, I thought he did a pretty decent job this year in his first year.
Yeah, I just think they should have stuck to a 3-man team this year with Greg Olsen.
I agree. Greg Olsen got treated poorly. But he'll be back.
And the Fox will be getting the Super Bowl in like 5 years because next year would be NBC, then goes to ABC, and then CBS again. So they got a while before it goes back on their network after this.
Yeah. All right. So we have 2 teams here, right? And I think, right, if you look at it, the matchup, it makes sense, right? Philadelphia earned the opportunity to get there. Jalen Hurts, I have the confidence in Jalen Hurts like I do in Patrick Mahomes? No, but they also have a very solid defense. They got a decent, obviously a running game now, but you got to wonder because they've been banged up a little bit, the offensive line. And then on the other side of the ball, Steve Spagnuolo is going to go down as one of the best defensive coordinators, so they can make the adjustments. And of course, you have Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of people were saying, when they were 14-1 or 15-2, they ended up finishing that it wasn't, the dominating Kansas City Chiefs we've come to know. But number 15 has this innate sense of what to do. And listen, even if Philadelphia jumps out to a big lead, don't
never underestimate
the second half of a football game. Honestly, I don't think the first half of an NFL game means a heck of a lot.
Unless you have betting on the line. That's the only time it matters.
And I'm adamantly opposed to it. You know that. But
I agree.
With the weapons that he has, the people around Patrick Mahomes play better because they're playing with Patrick Mahomes. You're getting guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyreek Hill comes back, and Travis Kelce, he's still Travis Kelce. They got the weapons.
No question.
Right. So before we make our final pick, give me your little preview in the Eli world here.
Well, I think it's going to be an epic Super Bowl. I cannot wait for the commercials. I cannot wait for the Kendrick halftime. And I think overall, looking into the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be close. I know a lot of people were saying that a lot of people are gearing towards Philadelphia. From a lot of networks I've been seeing, it's been a lot geared towards Philadelphia because nobody wants to see the Chiefs win again. But you got to remember, though, the Chiefs find a way to win every single time. And they got 4 key factors. But yet again, I could see why everybody's picking Philadelphia because of Saquon Barkley. I mean, if you look what he did with the Washington game and the rest of the postseason, the regular season, Saquon Barkley is what makes this Philadelphia team phenomenal. And there is no question asked about that.
Yeah.
So it's really going to come down to who has the better night. Will it be Patrick Mahomes or Saquon Barkley? Because those are 2 eyes and keys to watch out for. Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes. We're not even worried about Jalen Hurts. It's Saquon Barkley for this Philadelphia team. What does he do that changes the game?
Yeah. And listen, Philadelphia has weapons. They have A.J. Brown, who, to me, I think he gets a lot more credit than he deserves.
Right.
I think Devontae Smith is a potential big time weapon for them.
Yeah.
Their defense is good, but remember, Jalen Carter has been battling this flu that's been going around, and it's knocked people right on their backside. So if he's healthy, he's going to be a factor. So we got really. If you
Yeah.
look at the matchups, you look at it as Mahomes versus Hurts. You look at it with Reed versus Sirianni, and like I said, wouldn't be surprised if Philadelphia came out and played. Everything has to go right for them, and if it does, I'm not going to be surprised if they win the game. However,
Absolutely.
here's my pick.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I am taking.
It's not like
Kansas
last
City.
time.
I am taking Kansas City because I think that Mahomes
You learned your lesson.
he wants this three-peat so bad. It just, to me, almost like he will not be denied. I don't see it happening. But give me your pick, Eli.
Well, here's the first thing. The point spread right now is 1.5 in favor of Kansas City for tomorrow's game. What I've noticed between these two teams, they're incredibly talented. This is not like Super Bowl 57 because the Eagles are a brand new team this year. They're not like what they were back in Super Bowl 57 when they met in Arizona. They're in New Orleans, new game, new era, new time. But here are my key factors. The head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs is Andy Reid. The quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. The number one supporters, the referees, and Taylor Swift. And I don't think nothing could stop them from winning a three-peat. And there is no question that I'm going to take Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. I think everything is going to go their way. They're going to win it. My score prediction, I was debating a little bit. Most of the season, they were unable to get above 30 points except for the one Bills game in the postseason and the Panthers game in the regular season. But for me, this time around, it's going to be a lot closer and a lot tougher, and they will get over 30 points. Final score, 36-34. Give me Kansas City to win the Super Bowl.
Wow. 30, that's a close game. That's going to come down to the last drive of the game, probably.
Yeah. It's a Super Bowl, Jim. You got to give a score pick. What's your score pick?
Well, it doesn't, regardless of
right
point spreads and whatnot. I don't think it's going to be that highly of a score game. I'm going to go with Kansas City by like 26-21, maybe something like that.
So you don't think they're going to go over 30 points?
I think both defenses are not going to allow that to happen. This isn't going to be. They're not going to march. Each team's not going to march up and down the field and score points.
Right. But for Kansas City, their defense, they have one job. They have to stop Saquon Barkley and no one else. If you could stop Saquon Barkley, the keys to winning the Super Bowl are in your hands.
And remember, the Philadelphia Eagles, their offensive line is a little beat up. I mean, Landon Dickerson has been, he hobbles. He's a warrior for sure, so he's going to be playing. But, Steve Spagnuolo can figure a way out to stop Saquon Barkley, and I think that's what's going to be the deciding factor in this game. I don't think it's going to be Jalen Hurts. And we both know that, any game could turn on a turnover or
one referee call, as we all know what happens in the Super Bowl.
A referee call, a missed call. So, that's why obviously they say they play the game, because on any given Sunday, anybody could win. But I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes, and you are too. So listen, we would love more comments and send us emails. Give us your thought. I know I'm going to catch grief from Frankie about Eli not getting in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, but this is about the Super Bowl. And listen, everybody, enjoy the game. It's going to be great. And I make my famous mac and cheese. That's what I do.
Okay, well, I want to send you my address after the show so you could send some over, because I want to try this mac and cheese.
Get in line, my friend. Get in line.
Oh, I'm getting in line. I'm going to have to leave now, Jim. If you excuse me, I'm going to be heading to your house. What do you got, like bacon in it or something? What do you got? Just mac and cheese, Blaine, or what do you got in it?
I can't give the recipe. I swore to my mother I would never give it away.
Oh, okay. So. All right. Well, fine. All right, no problem. We'll talk after the show. But no, for me, it's For me, I think we do like either pizza or Moe's, which is like a Chipotle, basically, and we do Moe's because
Oh,
I
I
like
know
them.
Moe's. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we do like
Gotcha.
tacos and quesadillas. There's nothing that you can go wrong with that. I mean, I heard pigs in the blanket's fantastic.
I got
Love
that
that
on my
too.
menu as well.
Jim, I think I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl by your house this year. I'm gonna have to switch houses. It looks like because you look like you have the better menu.
I
I'm
do.
I'm getting hungry now. You're gonna have to teach us this. You got to like do a presentation of kitchen week. We're gonna do that.
Maybe we add a food segment to the
Food
show
segment
next.
inside the kitchen. All right, we're gonna do it for next show. We got a couple comments though. Tom says, "Go Chiefs," no question.
Yep.
Eric says, "Happy Super Bowl 59 to all. Happy Super Bowl 59 to you too, Eric. Thank you for watching." And Tom says, "Barbecue, baby." All right, I heard barbecue is also really good for Super Bowl too.
But
I
we're
mean,
on the East Coast here. We don't do the Kansas City barbecue. But when
but
I
that
come
sounds
out
good though.
100%. So when I go and visit the Pugh family in Kansas City,
You have to stop by some more barbecue.
he's taking me out for a barbecue dinner, no question.
All right. Well, everyone, for those watching, feel free to comment. What is your Super Bowl go-to meal? What do you usually have? Or what's something that you really love to enjoy or wish you had? Let us know in the comments because that is a big part of the Super Bowl. And
Yep.
one other thing I want to mention. Favorite Super Bowl halftime show, Bruno Mars, no question. Can't wait to see Kendrick though, but Bruno Mars, my favorite. Let us know also. What's your favorite Super Bowl halftime show? Jim, which Super Bowl halftime show favorite? I know you don't watch it, but you have to have a favorite.
I'm a little biased, and I can't say anything other than I forgot what Super Bowl it was. It was probably 15, 20 years ago. The Rolling Stones
All right.
played the Super Bowl.
They're great.
Anything Rolling Stones gets my vote.
Phenomenal. And I think Bruno for me is a win. Bruno Mars is phenomenal here at MetLife.
Okay.
Tom says you
right,
bet brisket for Jim and Lucy.
Brisket. All right, Tom.
All righty. I'm going to do Kansas City. Where is it? Because I'm flying there right now.
Oh,
right after the show.
That city must be going crazy. And you have to wonder, though, either Philadelphia is going to burn to the ground if they win, or it's going to burn to the ground if they lose. It doesn't
Regardless,
matter.
It's going to happen. So
That's
stay
right.
safe for Philadelphia. But I'm flying to Kansas City now for barbecue, and I'm going to Jim's house for the mac and cheese. And I'm going to send you the address so you can bring some over, Jim. Got to try this mac and cheese and whatever you're serving because that sounds delicious.
It is. All right. Okay, Eli. So we covered that. Let's go a couple other quick sports. We got a lot of stuff.
Go to the NHL.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I just want to kind of give myself a pat on the back because I knew that Pete Alonso,
we'll go to MLB.
would sign with the Mets, which he did. 2-year deal. He gets an option for an out after next year. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's you and I talked a little bit about. If you look on paper, the Mets have a pretty good roster. But remember, they got to get past the Braves. They got to get past the Philadelphia, and of course, they got to go against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who just keep getting richer and richer from a talent perspective.
100%. But listen, I want to point out though, Pete Alonso was a phenomenal pickup. There was no question that was an awesome, not an awesome pickup, but an awesome re-sign back because it had to happen. Yep. He is the key to success. Phenomenal move. That's all I could say.
Yeah. No, he's going to break the Mets all-time home run record. It makes sense for him to keep there. I never thought for 1 second that he was going to the Toronto Blue Jays. Not for 1 second. So.
Absolutely. And now the other two that happened was Tim Hill, left-hand reliever, and the Yankees are on a 1-year agreement for $2.85 million.
Mm-hmm.
And right-hander Jack Flaherty and the Tigers agreed a 2-year, $35 million agreement as well.
Yeah, he went back to the Detroit. He was there before he went to the Dodgers. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the NHL.
NHL. Okay. Bring it up. Bring it up.
All right.
OV 16 away from breaking Gretzky's record. Might as well get that.
I'm going to keep saying it every single show. Yes, he's 16 away. He ain't going to beat Wayne Gretzky's greatest of all time. He will beat the record, no question about it, but he's not going to be crowned the greatest of all time in my book, and I will keep on saying it every single week. Washington, first place in the NHL with a 36-11-7 record. Winnipeg also at 39. 14-3 in the Western Conference. Winnipeg holds first place in the entire National Hockey League.
Yeah.
Now,
Both your Devils and my Rangers are struggling. I know the
oh boy, we
Rangers
are.
made a big deal to get JT Miller, and it paid a couple early dividends, but they end up losing again. This is not their year.
Yes,
It's not the Devils' year either. They're dealing with injuries, but yeah,
absolutely.
the elite right now, believe it or not, is Winnipeg and Washington, as you said. Yeah.
It's bottom line, and Florida and Edmonton are right behind them. Now, there is no All-Star game this year for the NHL. The NBA, their All-Star game is next week. But what the NHL is doing this year is called the Four Nations Face-Off. It's going to feature Canada, Sweden, USA, and Finland competing for a trophy. It's going to follow the same rules as the NHL. Each team will play 3 tournament games in a traditional round-robin format, and under the following point system: 3 points for a win, 2 points for a win in overtime and shootout, and 1 point for a loss in overtime or shootout. 0 points for a loss in regulation time, and the 2 teams with the best tournament record goes on to the championship. The games will be the first 4 games will be in Montreal, Canada at the Bell Center, and the last 3 games will be in Boston at TD Garden. They're not going anywhere else but Canada and the US. The games are available on TNT, ABC, and ESPN. If you're interested in watching, that will be beginning on February 12th with Canada, Sweden. The next day will be USA and Finland from Canada. Go USA.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a different little spin on things. I think that may work.
I think it might work.
Because, we
we'll
know
see the
that
points,
the
how many points scored.
Yeah, the NHL All-Star Game is just like the NBA All-Star Game. You don't want people to get hurt, so there's not a lot of defense and checking and hitting like the game during the regular season. So this is a nice twist.
This is a nice twist, and I hope it works out for them.
Yeah, me too. One other quick note from hockey, and it's not the NHL. It is this weekend is it's it's the Beanpot Final. And the Beanpot Final is, the Bostons and the Harvards and Boston College. And this weekend, it's where my niece goes and where my brother Steve went, Boston University, against Boston College. And when you think of it, if you watch that game, it's always a great tournament. It's always a great game, and it's loaded with future NHL players. So that's why it's relevant. That's why it's relevant.
All right. Where should we go?
Let's move right on, Eli. Let's touch base a little bit on college basketball, which now, as football winds down,
they're in its prime.
It starts to pick up, gets a lot more notoriety.
It's only March Madness when it's real basketball for college. I can care less about the regular season. I only worry about what happens in March Madness.
Yeah, and I think right now it looks clearly like Auburn is the top team. But look at Duke and look at the year this 18-year-old Cooper Flagg has had. So Duke is now relevant again because of this young kid. And I think maybe one of the biggest surprises is, and maybe it's not a surprise to some people, St. John's, because Rick Pitino left Iona, came there, and they're now the number 12 team, and they didn't upset because this isn't UConn's year, but they beat UConn. So they've won 10 straight games. And this is, I haven't seen St. John's be relevant since I was in college back in 1984, 85 year when they had Chris Mullin and Walter Berry and Mark Jackson. And by the way, that was the year that Niagara beat St. John's when they were the number 1 team.
Let's just hope the committee doesn't get it right. Hopefully the committee gets it right this time and let St. John's in, because we all know.
Oh, no question. They're in.
They missed it.
They're in.
A big game today. Watch out for Oregon, Michigan State, 12 o'clock on Fox, Tennessee, Oklahoma, 12 o'clock on ESPN, Seton Hall, Georgetown, 12 o'clock on FS1, Florida, Auburn, 4 p.m. on ESPN2, and Duke, Clemson, 6:30 on ESPN.
And by the way, Dick Vitale will be calling that game tonight.
Yes. Should be exciting.
Clemson Duke game. I do have a picture I want to share, but before we move off the NBA, this is also tomorrow night is Hubie Brown's final game in the booth, and he's 91 years old. He's a graduate of Niagara University. He's a well-renowned um, student of the game, and 91 years old, still got all his faculties, and I just wish him best in retirement. I never thought he would retire, but I'm gonna come back to that in the picture segment. But I wanted to acknowledge that it's his last game.
Well, congratulations on that.
Right. Okay, Eli.
Well, it's time now for some random points,
Yes.
sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yes. And I got a few here. I'm just gonna run them down because we're
Yes, cut
um
on time.
yeah, couple things. Rory McIlroy wins the Pebble Beach last week, so
Yep.
he's off to a good start. And I always consider the Pebble Beach Pro Am as the start of the golf season. And you know, I'm excited to see if Scotty Scheffler can
Do
continue
it
this
again.
dominance. He's been Player of the Year like 3 years in a row, and rightfully so. But McIlroy seems determined again to get back on the map. So that was a big win for him. He's never won there before. Um, One other thing, this 18 game schedule that Roger Goodell is pretty much saying is going to happen. I think that's not going to happen. They're going to have to get
Why?
this through. They're going to have to get this through the Players Association, and I don't think they want any part of an extra game.
I would say absolutely. Why not? More playing time, less preseason, and the Super Bowl goes to President's Day weekend, which we know every single fan wants to see happen, and that'll be big for the NFL, and we all know that.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good thing. I just don't think the players. It's going to have to change the whole compensation part of it. You're going to have to
Don't they
eliminate
get enough?
preseason games to fit 18 games. But what Roger Goodell wants, he usually gets. But this one is going to be a tough one to sell. To the
I think he's
Players
going to get it.
Association.
I
That's
think
all.
he will. It's a big thing for the NFL, and I
Okay.
think that might be the smartest decision of his time as commissioner.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to bring up, because my feelings on gambling and in sports. And again, now we have this new probe. We've seen it in the NBA before, a couple of players suspended. Now there's a new scandal, if you will. A couple of schools, let's see, Mississippi Valley State, Eastern Michigan, North Carolina AT&T. It's just too easy for these guys, and the temptation for guys that may not make the NBA
Yeah.
to alter their game. And of course they can't bet directly, but you can always have a surrogate bet for you. It's going to be a problem. It will continue to be a problem. This is not the last of it. And we actually saw Pat Hochberg, who was an umpire in Major League Baseball. Turns out he had an account with one of his betting partners that was betting on Major League Baseball games. So he's been suspended
Right.
indefinitely. He claims, of course, he didn't bet on baseball, but you have a partner who's a big time gambler. Obviously, they were betting on baseball. So whether the calls were made to influence the game, I just don't think you can have that controversy. Anything that smells bad is probably bad, and that's another notable point. Couple other quick ones before I turn it over to you, Eli. I know you have some too.
Yes.
Ryan Day gets an extension through 2031 from Ohio State. Now, you look at two things. They did win the national championship, or what's
Right.
collectively known as the national championship, but he's lost to Michigan 4 times. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Yes, he gets the contract. He's now one of the top 5 highest paid coaches. But if they don't beat Michigan, I don't think his job is secure, national championship or not. That's what that rivalry means. And that's a big deal, but they signed him anyway. And I have 2 little quick things I wanted to bring up. Because you and I talk about high school football, especially in New Jersey. You're a big St. Mary's guy. I'm a St. Joe's guy.
Right.
And we know the talent level, right? With the Bergen Catholics and the Don Boscos and so forth. So I have a couple of points I wanted to bring up. So Bergen Catholic wins the Bergen County Wrestling Championship, and they have like eight freshmen on the varsity team. And one of those is Brian Clifford, who happens to be the son of a friend of mine, who I begged to send his son to St. Joe's, but he went to Bergen Catholic. And he's going to be a promising young star. He wrestles in the 190 category and so
Right.
forth. So he plays third in the counties. I just wanted to give a shout out to him and the Bergen Catholic wrestling team, as they were dominant, big time.
Absolutely.
And also from a St. Joe's perspective, a couple of things. St. Joe's won their first Bergen County hockey championship of all time. Right. And also, and you and I talked a little bit about it, the Bergen County Jamboree is a very big deal in New Jersey from a basketball perspective. And the quarterfinals are going on today. And one of the star players for St. Joe's is Anthony Pacciarelli, who, as it turns out, is the son of a friend of mine that I worked with for many, many years. So I wanted to give a shout out to Anthony. He's not only a great athlete, he's like you, Eli. He's an honor student. He's a student of the week, that kind of thing. So when you see a guy excel at sports and academics, you can't help but root for those guys. So Brian Clifford and Anthony Pacciarelli, well done.
All right. Well, here are my two notes for today. Not much. I don't know. We had a lot to talk about already. Caitlin Clark's number 22 jersey, forever in the Raptors in Iowa, as her jersey was retired last week. Congratulations to her in a big ceremony. Yep. And finally, last week was the Grammys, and Beyonce took home the Country Album of the Year and Album of the Year for the Grammys. And on top of that, $24 million were donated to wildfire relief on behalf of the Grammys, thanks to that little QR code on their screen. So congratulations to the Grammys on raising that much money. Congrats, Beyonce. And we all saw the Kanye West and the wife. That was just disgusting to watch.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah. Talk about, I mean.
How could that happen?
He didn't get invited, but yet shows up on the red carpet, and that happens. If you know, you know. But bottom line is he got the media attention that he wanted. And that will lead us now into the entertainment and photo segment sponsored by Vital Selections. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Yes, and we thank Vital Selections for being our latest and newest sponsor for sure.
Yes.
So I have a movie recommendation, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't duplicate it, but it's 31 Days of Oscar on Turner Classic. So that it gives you access to all Academy Award-winning directors, actors, producers, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, a real good movie that I'm going to recommend is Catch Me If You Can. And that's a Leonardo DiCaprio
yes.
with Tom Hanks. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Eli, but it's a very clever movie and actually a true story. I'm not a big DiCaprio fan per se, but he was outstanding in this movie. And that's my recommendation.
Well, we do have a couple of comments. Sure. Yes, before I get to it, I got a couple comments I want to get to. Diego says the Niagara Purple Eagles should be ranked number 1.
Well, unfortunately, we're not having a very good season this year, but this does not detract away from Hubie Brown and what he's accomplished.
Tom Pugh says it's all about the money, refers to your Roger Goodell in the Week 18.
Well aware.
Tom says also, gotta love Douche.
Deutsch. I don't know who that is, Tom. Who is that?
We always do this, and I think he'll give it one.
Put
it in the comments. My comment for the picks: The Floor airs season 3 tomorrow, 10:30, right after the Super Bowl, with episode 2 airing at 9:00 on Monday on Fox. You also have The Masked Singer season 13 at 8:00, and The Next Level Chef with Gordon Ramsay at 8:00 on Fox. He was referring to the Grammys Best Rap Artist. Yes, yes, I understand.
Well, that certainly explains why I don't know anything about it.
Now I get it. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, God love Mr. Pugh. God love him. That's great.
And now we get to look at some pictures.
Okay, let's put up a couple pictures. So I mentioned Hubie Brown before, and I wanted to put this picture up because that's Hubie Brown on the left, that's Frank Layden on the right, and that's me in the middle, and Steve Wiseman, who was a classmate of mine at Niagara. I had an opportunity to spend about 20 minutes with Hubie Brown and Frank Layden, and we
Yeah.
just talked about basketball, and it was great. I love that picture.
Yes.
And this is those three more of my classmates and a dear friend of theirs from Syracuse. They're out skiing somewhere in, I don't know where they go,
Having a good
Utah.
time. Explanation on this one, please, Jim.
Okay. Well, because we keep talking about Bill Belichick, and this is his picture on the red carpet for some reason why he was there. It just seems almost comical. I thought we had to post it because she's 24, he's 72, and it's obviously ridiculous, but I just wanted to post that because I just saw it and I said, it's a head scratcher to me. Yeah, I don't think she's after money, right? Anyway, so to the pews out in Kansas City and all those other naysayers, look at my grandson and my granddaughter bearing their Patrick Mahomes, and they are all in on Patrick Mahomes winning the Super Bowl. And I thought this was an absolute adorable picture, and I needed to put it up.
All right. And now we have some notable passings, and yeah. Oh, we have another comment. Tom says, love it.
Excellent.
All
My
right.
man. Okay, so yes, from a notable passings perspective, and of course we do it to honor, not to bring a
Yes.
downtrodden end to our show. Fay Vincent, former commissioner of Major League Baseball, who took over for Bart Giamatti, and he was 86 years old. I thought he passed a while ago, but apparently not. But he was, he only had a 3-year term. He kind of quote unquote rocked the boat with the owners, so they kind of forced him out. But he was definitely came from, actually, I didn't realize this. He was kind of like a Hollywood
like star, pretty much.
Yeah, some kind of thing. But yeah, no. And he kept, and he didn't waver from Bart Giamatti's feelings that Pete Rose shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame for betting and having mobsters in his locker room. So
Yeah.
he passed away. Rich Dower, 72. And I remember watching him. He was a member of the 83 Baltimore Orioles World Championship team. And he also won 2 national titles at USC as a college player. And, he also won a World Series with the Astros. He was a solid defensive player, had a really good career, and he was 72.
Yep.
Virginia McCaskey, and a lot of people may not know her, but she was, quote unquote, the owner of the Chicago Bears. She's George Halas, his daughter, and George Halas, obviously, it's when you go with the coaches winning, right? Belichick is up there, Don Shula is at the top, George Halas was second, and Bill Belichick right behind him. She was 102 years old.
Wow.
Very, very sweet woman, very nice woman, and
yeah, and I saw that too, but it was just a very wow moment.
Yeah, that's a big thing. 102.
Yeah.
And also Howard Twilley.
Yeah.
Howard Twilley, a lot of people might not know. If some of my contemporaries would know him. He was 81 years old, but he was also a member of the 72 Dolphins undefeated season, caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. It was an original Dolphin, actually, when they came into the league in 66, I think. But not only was he a solid player in the NFL, he was also a runner-up in the Heisman Trophy at University of Tulsa back in 66, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he was also, like I said, we're starting to see a lot of the 72 team, which is the only undefeated team. He was a pivotal member of that team, and we know we lost Mercury Morris and Jim Kick and some of those other guys, but certainly he was a notable player on that team. And this just came in, which I didn't know, and I thank Jeremy Bennett for letting us know. But Tony Roberts, the actor,
Yes.
passed away, and he was 85.
Yeah.
Notable because he was in most of Woody Allen's movies. He was also in The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
That was a great, great movie. Not the Denzel, the original version with Walter Matthau. But he has a great record. He was on a couple of Law and Orders, but really notable actor. And that just came in this morning. He was 85. Good actor.
Yeah. The other two I had was Aiden Manzano, a 27-year-old reporter for Kansas City, died in New Orleans while covering the Super Bowl. He leaves behind a young daughter and a wife born in 1997.
Yeah, he's a young guy, but there's a lot of suspicion surrounding how this all went down. But we don't want to get into that. But
right,
yeah,
of course,
he actually was covering the Super Bowl for Kansas City, I think, for the Telemundo network.
Yes, something like that. And not Bears owner. Joe Hale, a Disney animator and layout artist for Sleeping Beauty and an Oscar nominee, died at the age of 99.
Eli, I got to give you credit. I mean, Walt Disney should be sending you Mickey Mouse ears and shirts every week because you are their biggest supporter for sure. No doubt.
Wow. Okay. What a great show.
Wow. We covered so much, but there really is the focus about tomorrow. And
yes, it is.
I thank everybody for sending in comments today. Send us emails. Got one from Jim Walsh yesterday who made some very insightful comments and
absolutely
loyal listeners since day one. And we thank him for that. And we just hope everybody enjoys the game. We're getting a snowstorm in the Northeast coming up.
So stay safe.
Yep. But it'll be all cleared and out of its way, and everybody can get to their Super Bowl party destinations. And
absolutely, that's what it's for.
I think it's going to be a great football game, and I'm looking forward to it. And Eli, enjoy
the Super Bowl.
Enjoy your party with Moe's and your tacos and your pizza. And
Jim, I'm going to send you my address after the show. I'm going to send you my address after the show so you can send me some of that mac and cheese, whatever you're cooking, because I'm jealous at what you're having. I really am. I'm going to have to stop by.
All right. Well, don't worry. And this is what I do. So one of our listeners, Frankie, who sent the thing.
Yes.
I know he's going to be mad at me about the Eli Manning thing, but I will bring him a sample of the mac and cheese tomorrow at work. Well, Eli, enjoy the game, my friend.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. And see you next week at 10 o'clock.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll have our Super Bowl recap next week for sure.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.